fine, so please be patient and understand that it will not be perfect and errors can happen. If you see any misalignments, please report in comment section. Please consider subscribing. Chapter 5. Into the main square. Lone sat in the merchant's carriage, the leather seats creaking under his weight. The rhythmic clop of the horses' hooves against the cobbled streets was a constant sound, a reminder that they were leaving the alleyways and heading toward the center of the city to the main square. He sat across the old man who had promised to help him infiltrate the main square. "My name's Ronan Vale, by the way," the old man said, his voice cutting through the silence. Lone's brow furrowed slightly at the mention of his name. The old man hadn't introduced himself before, but now that they were heading toward the main square, it seemed appropriate enough. "Ronan Vale," Lone repeated quietly, testing the name on his tongue. He had the air of someone who had spent countless hours in carriages just like this one. "You don't look like the sort to have much to do with the main square." Ronan chuckled at the comment, a low sound that seemed almost like a groan. "Most people wouldn't think so. But that's the point. In my line of work, blending in is just as important as anything else. People underestimate the quiet ones." Lone nodded, considering this. He hadn't yet figured out how to trust the old man, but he was growing more curious with every passing minute. "What's the plan?" Ronan's eyes gleamed with something that might have been amusement, or perhaps it was just the flickering candlelight in the carriage. "We'll be using my merchant carriage. I'm known in the district, and no one will question me when I go into the main square to make a few business deals. But you, well, you're not exactly dressed for the occasion." Lone's hand instinctively tugged at the frayed sleeve of his jacket, feeling the rough fabric. It was all he had left, and it screamed of the poverty he'd been living with for far too long. "You're right about that," he muttered. "I'll stand out like a sore thumb." "Exactly why I've arranged for you to change clothes," Ronan said, his voice matter of fact. "Once we get to my warehouse, you'll find clothes that will fit you better. It's important that you look the part if you're going to step into that world." Lone's gaze shifted to the road outside the carriage. He could see the city stretching out before them, the tall buildings looming closer as they got nearer to the heart of the city. His heart raced as they neared the main square entrance gate. This was what he had been waiting for. But something about it made him uneasy. Everything in the main square felt wrong to him, like it was a place where only the powerful could truly survive. "You're sure this will work?" Lone asked, his voice tight with skepticism. Ronan glanced at him, a knowing smile tugging at the corners of his lips. "You don't trust easily, do you?" Lone gave him a cold stare. "Can you blame me?" The old man's smile faded, but his eyes remained steady. "Fair enough. Just follow my lead." The carriage rolled steadily toward the checkpoint at the gates of the main square. The tall stone walls loomed above, casting long shadows as the massive iron gates creaked open. The carriage halted and tense silence hung in the air. The guards neared the carriage. Ronan leaned back casually, as if this was nothing but routine. Lone, however, felt sweat bead against the worn fabric of his sleeve. "Easy," Ronan whispered without moving his lips. "Breathe slow. If they find me, I'm fucking finished," Lone muttered, barely audible. Ronan glanced at him, cold confidence flashing in his eyes. "They won't." "Ronan Vale? Haven't seen you around these gates in a while," guard said. Ronan gave a small chuckle, tipping his head. "Trade has been thinner these days. Not much coin to be made in the lower district, you know how it is." The guard smirked. "Always thought you had a nose for business. Still hauling goods for those noble buyers?" "Someone has to keep them dressed in silk and velvet," Ronan replied smoothly. "If it wasn't me, it'd be some other poor bastard trying to cheat them twice the price." Careful, Vale, guard said. One day you'll sell something too fine and end up in a noble's dungeon instead of his banquet hall. Ronan's grin didn't falter. He clicked his tongue sharply, lashing the reins across the horse's back. The animal surged forward, hooves striking hard against the cobblestones. Dust kicked up as the carriage lurched ahead, leaving the guards coughing and waving the grit from their faces. You talk to them like old friends. Do they really trust you? Lone said. Trust is a word for fools. They know my face, and that's enough, replied Ronan. The carriage moved through the street of Main Square, but Ronan's expression darkened as he peered ahead toward the road. His jaw tightened and he cursed under his breath. Ah, damn it, these aren't my usual men. Lone followed his gaze and saw a group of guards approaching in the distance. They wore the standard livery of the city's patrols, and there were several carriages behind them, all being checked. The patrol was thorough, stopping every carriage, peering inside, and checking the occupants before allowing them to pass. The very kind of routine that could ruin everything for them if they weren't careful. They'll be checking us next, Ronan said quickly. And you don't want to be seen in this part of town in those rags. If they find you, it'll be trouble. Stay low, and don't make a sound. Lone's heart skipped a beat. What do we do? Ronan scanned the surroundings before his eyes settled on the house ahead. Fuck, there's no time. I'll drop you here. Go and hide somewhere in backyard of a nearby house. He looked back toward the guards. Hurry. Lone hesitated but didn't have time to argue. The guards were getting closer. Ronan quickly opened the carriage door, urging him to get out. Go now. I'll come back later this day to pick you up, Ronan hissed, his voice sharp with urgency. Lone jumped out of the carriage and immediately crouched low, moving as swiftly and quietly as he could toward the house. His heart pounded in his chest, and he couldn't shake the feeling that everything was teetering on the edge of disaster. As Lone neared the house, he risked a glance over his shoulder. The guards had already started to approach the carriage. His throat tightened in fear, but he pushed the panic down. He couldn't afford to be caught now. Lone rushed to the nearest doorway, his pulse hammering. He gripped the handle and gave it a desperate twist, anything to get out of sight before the patrol noticed him. To his relief, the door was unlocked. With a quick glance to make sure no one was watching, he slipped inside, the heavy wood creaking softly as it shut behind him. He paused, straining his ears for the muffled voices of the guards outside. The street was quiet for now, but it wouldn't be long before the patrols turned their full attention to Ronan's carriage. Lone moved deeper into the house, his footsteps soft on the polished wooden floor. The interior was lavish, far more extravagant than anything he had ever imagined. Tapestries hung on the walls, and expensive furniture lined the rooms, but it all felt foreign to him. He was a street rat, and this place felt like a world he didn't belong to. He found himself standing in what seemed like a large living room, trying to steady his breathing as he glanced around. The sound of footsteps suddenly interrupted his thoughts, and Lone froze. He turned toward the hallway, trying to remain hidden in the shadows. A young woman appeared in the doorway, her eyes locking on his immediately. Fuck, I'm screwed, Lone thought. She was tall, with long, striking ginger hair that shimmered in the dim light. Her features were sharp, but there was a softness to her expression that caught Lone off guard. The way she carried herself was far too refined, thought Lone. Lone stood frozen in the middle of the room, unsure of what to say. The woman in front of him studied him with a steady gaze, her eyes scanning his tattered clothes and wary expression as if searching for some hidden truth. Who are you? She asked. Her tone wasn't harsh, nor was it warm, just curious, as though she were observing some strange creature that had wandered into her home. Lone's stomach tightened. This was the last thing he needed, the attention of a noble. Running was out of the question, too many eyes outside. A confrontation was dangerous, but unavoidable. I'm sorry, he stammered, forcing steadiness into his voice. I just needed to stay out of sight. I didn't mean to intrude. Her gaze softened slightly, though suspicion lingered. What's your name? He hesitated. Giving too much away could be deadly. Still, the question was too direct to dodge. Lone, he muttered. She raised an eyebrow, a faint smile tugging at her lips. Lone, she repeated, testing the sound. Unusual. I'm Cristine Kova, of the lower noble house Kova. The name struck him. Kova. That family has more influence than she admits. He kept his eyes on the floor, unwilling to meet hers. What brings you here? She asked. He hadn't expected that. She already knew who he was, or thought she did, but she wanted more. I'm just passing through, he said, voice guarded. Got business in the main square. His eyes flicked to the door, half expecting it to burst open. Cristine's interest sharpened. The main square? She echoed, the words carrying weight. Dangerous place for someone like you. Lone tensed. She was reading him too easily, peeling back layers he fought to keep hidden. I know, he said quietly. Nothing more. She didn't press. Instead, she stepped closer, her expression shifting into something almost amused. I've heard of people like you, wanderers, strays. But you. Her eyes lingered on him, lips curling into a knowing smile. You're different. He swallowed, unsure how to answer. What do you mean? There's something about you, Cristine said thoughtfully. Something that stands out, even here. She tilted her head, studying him. Her ginger hair slid aside, revealing striking brown eyes and full lips. For a moment, his breath caught. He forced himself to look away, ashamed at how easily she unsettled him. She's the most beautiful woman I've ever seen. It's not just your name, she continued. It's like you're searching for something. I'm not looking for anything, he cut in quickly, hiding behind the words. I'm just trying to survive. Her smile faded, replaced by something softer. She looked at him as if she saw through the lie. It made him feel exposed. I don't believe that, she said quietly. No one survives the main square by accident. You want more than that. Lone clenched his jaw. He wouldn't let her peel him open. Well, I don't need your help. I can handle myself. Cristine's smile returned, this time without mockery. I didn't say you couldn't. But everyone needs help, eventually. You can't do it all alone. Her honesty caught him off guard. He expected arrogance, not understanding. She's not like the others. You don't know me, he said, more defensive than he intended. I don't, she agreed. But I want to. The bluntness stole his reply. He'd never let anyone get close, certainly not a noble. And yet something about her made him hesitate. All right, he said at last, voice low. What do you want from me? Cristine's eyes flickered with something unreadable. You look like you've been living on the streets. That won't work in the main square. You'll draw attention. I'm not interested in charity, he snapped. Her tone sharpened. This isn't charity. It's practical. My father's closet is full of clothes. Wear them, and no one will look twice at you. The offer disarmed him. Suspicion gnawed at him, but he couldn't deny the truth. His rags would betray him in an instant. Fine, he muttered. Cristine smiled knowingly. Clothes alone won't save you. But it's a start. She led him to a wardrobe, pulling out a deep green tunic, dark trousers, and a cloak meant for shadows. Try these. He turned away to change, feeling her eyes on him. Her gaze lingered not with mockery, but with curiosity. She noticed what he tried to hide, that unlike most from the lower district, he wasn't starved to the bone. His life of constant fights and thefts had left him lean, but strong. "You look much better," she said, approving. "No one will give you a second glance now." Lone nodded, silent. "There's a basement," Cristine added after a pause, her voice quieter. "You can use it. Safe, hidden. No one goes there." Suspicion flared again. "Why are you helping me?" Cristine studied him for a long moment before shrugging. "Because you're interesting. Different. You're not just surviving, you're fighting for something. And I want to see where it takes you." His expression darkened. "I don't need your sympathy." "I'm not offering sympathy," she said. "I'm offering understanding. Maybe you don't have to do this alone."